I'm going to put the tired argument we need cops to bed right now in this one video. If you listen to some people, you would think without cops, society would descend into chaos. There'd be murder, mayhem, blood running in the streets, fires set all across the city. But this video right here is going to prove that nothing could be further from the truth. And in fact, you don't need cops. You don't need to waste time dialing 911. All you got to do is get out your trusty gun and take care of business. Check this out.
Violence on one Hudsonville native's doorstep after he was caught in the line of fire. Harrison Fryer, a senior airman now living in Iowa, credited for his heroism for acting in the midst of chaos after a gunman began firing shots in his neighborhood. Now, Fryer says it was his military training that kicked in and his want to keep his family and his community safe. And that whole incident was caught on home security video. It was like any other evening in the Fryer household. Harrison and his wife Brielle and their kids eating dinner.
We started hearing something that sounded a bit like fireworks.
That's when the calm quickly turned to chaos. Those sounds weren't fireworks. They were gunshots. So Harrison, a senior airman in the U.S. Air Force, knew he had to step in.
We walked down, got behind the car as she was on the phone with 911, and he then popped out of that screened-in porch. And it's almost like we just locked eyes with each other for a second. And then he raised his gun up and I screamed, "Don't," hoping to dissuade him from shooting at us.
But that didn't work. And they say he immediately started firing towards them.
Don't. Upwards of about 8 times before I fired back. Mm-hmm. And I fired back 2 times, striking him. Once in the leg and once in the wrist.
He should have said right there exactly where I aimed. I got the target I was aiming for. See, Harrison put on his big boy pants and said, "Damn it, this is my neighborhood and I'm going to defend it." And he did.
It was August 6th around 7:30 p.m. That's when Iowa Department of Public Safety says they received reports of a shooting in that neighborhood.
Okay, yeah, I'm calling 911. All you got to do is send a cop with a couple body bags. We took care of business for him.
They say the gunman, a 71-year-old man, shot and killed 2 adults. He then set his own house on fire while inside. He was severely burned and died 2 days later.
As we understand it from the police, they believe he intended to kill a lot more people if given the opportunity.
He had like hundreds of rounds.
Harrison and Brielle, 2 Hudsonville high school sweethearts and graduates of Grand Valley State University, moved to Iowa about a year ago when Harrison was stationed at a base on the border of Nebraska. Harrison says in that moment of terror, his military training kicked in.
The adrenaline kind of calmed my nerves rather than the opposite. It didn't
leave it to a chick to hide behind glass thinking that's going to protect her. Damn it, Brian, it's comments like that that lead your audience to be made up of 90% males and 10% females.
Rather than the opposite. It didn't make me shake or freak out. It just helped me lock in.
But for him, it wasn't about being a hero. It was about keeping his family and his community safe the best way that he could.
Making sure that there's nobody in the way of the line of fire, making sure that, you know, I try to keep everybody safe despite the fact that it's a crazy situation. I think I just did what anybody really should do if they're confronted with something like this, is keep as many people safe as they can, you know, be the good guy when bad stuff's happening.
Now, Harrison's Air Force Base says his actions revel the character and values that the Air Force depends on. They described his actions as brave and courageous. Now, the Fryers say they are just lucky to be alive and are focused right now on their neighborhood, who lost 2 of their own.
Harrison literally single-handedly fired twice and hit his target twice. That's better than you're going to get out of any cop with SWAT training and a rifle. And he did it from about 30 or 40 yards away. But I did tell you I was going to give you a couple of examples. Remember Elisha Dickin from Indiana? Says, dressed in shorts and a t-shirt, Elijah Dickin was shopping with his girlfriend when a gunman opened fire in a food court at a Greenwood, Indiana mall on Sunday evening, killing 3 people and wounding 2 others. While the shooter, 20-year-old Douglas Saperman, fired 24 rounds from an AR-15 style rifle, Dickin did not hesitate to use the Glock handgun he was legally carrying. Saperman was neutralized within 2 minutes, according to police. Many more people would have died last night if not for a responsible armed citizen that took action very quickly within the first 2 minutes of the shooting. Try within the first 15 seconds of the shooting. The grandmother of Shay Goldman, Dickin's 19-year-old girlfriend, says her granddaughter's life was one of those spared through the young man's actions. Eli pushed me out of the way and told me to get down and stay down. Everybody should be proud of him for what he's done, because if not, there would have been a lot more. But check this out. As Saperman began shooting from a restroom area into the mall's food court, Dickin returned fire, quote, from quite a distance with a handgun. As he moved in on the gunman, Dickin motioned for people to leave behind him. He's a superhero, said this one person whose 12-year-old daughter was wounded. As far as investigators know, Dickin, quote, has no police training and no military training. That's probably the thing that tipped the scales in his favor and kept other people safe while he was taking care of business. Making Dickin's heroism perhaps even more remarkable is the fact cases of an armed bystander attacking an active shooter are rare. I wonder why. It doesn't have anything to do with all those laws out there that restrict Americans from keeping and bearing arms, would it? And watch how fake-stream CIA infiltrated Operation Mockingbird MK Ultra Media tries to minimize this and almost vilify people who are carrying guns who aren't military or law enforcement. Having armed people at the scene who are not law enforcement members can create confusion and carry dire risks. Well, guess what? Historically speaking, calling law enforcement or military to the scene carries even more dire risks to an innocent public who needs saving. And then it says, an armed bystander who shot and killed an attacker in 2021 in Arvada, Colorado, for example, was himself shot and killed by the police who mistook him for the gunman. And we're going to go over that in a second. That's Johnny Hurley. That's another instance where not only did they not need the cops, when the cops finally showed up on the scene, they did the wrong thing and killed the wrong person. After the shooting, Dickin approached mall security and told them that he was the one that neutralized the shooter. Police then took Dickin to the station where detectives interviewed him. His statements correlated to the video from the scene. Greenwood Mayor Mark Myers said, he's a young man processing a lot. I ask that you give him space and time to be able to process what he's gone through. This young man, Greenwood's Good Samaritan, acted within seconds, stopping the shooter and saving countless lives. No police action necessary. And before we get to Johnny Hurley, who single-handedly saved the entire Arvada, Colorado Police Department, on November 5th, 2017, Devin Kelly shot and killed 26 people and wounded 22 others at the First Baptist Church in Sutherland Springs, Texas. Kelly was subsequently shot and wounded, not by police, then killed himself. This is the deadliest mass shooting in Texas history, and the deadliest. It would have been deadlier if it wasn't for one man, Stephen Williford, who was not a member of law enforcement. A few minutes after 11 a.m., Kelly arrived in a white SUV at the First Baptist Church in Sutherland Springs in Texas. Around 11:20 a.m., Kelly stepped out of the SUV wearing black tactical gear, a ballistic vest, and a black face mask featuring a white skull, and wielding a Ruger AR-556 semi-automatic rifle. He approached the church from the right, opening fire on and killing 2 people outside the church and continuing to fire on the building itself. He then entered the sanctuary through the right side door where worshipers, unarmed worshipers, and why would you ever do that in a church, a grocery store, in a mall, at the post office? Why would you ever be in a place where you're disarmed and easy pickings for any criminal? We're attending regular Sunday service. After entering, Kelly yelled, "Everybody dies, Emmer effers," as he proceeded up and down the center aisle and shot at people in the pews. Police found 15 empty magazines capable of holding 30 rounds each. Authorities stated Kelly fired approximately 450 rounds during the estimated 11-minute-long shooting. According to investigators, the shooting was captured on a camera set up at the back of the church to record regular services for uploading online. The footage shows Kelly methodically shooting the victims, the unarmed, helpless, fish-in-a-barrel churchgoers, pausing only to reload his rifle. Kelly was then confronted by and traded fire with Stephen Williford, a local resident and former firearms instructor who was armed with an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle. Williford had taken cover behind a truck across the street from the church and shot Kelly twice, once in the leg and once in the upper left torso, under his tactical gear. Kelly, who had dropped his rifle during the initial firefight with Williford, fired back with a handgun before fleeing in his Ford Explorer. Williford fired one more round as Kelly sped north on FM 539. This dude right here pulled up in his pickup truck. Williford approached and entered this guy's truck on the passenger side. They then pursued Kelly at high speed for about 5 to 7 minutes. Remember, no police are in sight. When seconds count, police are minutes, maybe even hours away. Depends on when they get there, if they get there. According to the guy who had the pickup truck, they drove at speeds of up to 95 miles per hour. While chasing Kelly, the man called the police dispatch to report the route and direction of the chase, assuming the police were headed toward the church. Turns out Devin Kelly was wounded by Stephen Williford and then ended his own life after the pursuit. In 2021, a federal judge ruled that the federal government was negligent and awarded victims and families nearly $250 million. And that brings us to Johnny Hurley in Arvada, Colorado, who not only didn't need the police, but he actually saved the police with a handgun. The active shooter was wearing black shorts, a floppy hat, and tactical gear. And he had already killed an Arvada police officer. He was shooting out windows in police cars in a busy shopping and restaurant district in Old Town Arvada during lunch hour. 3 fellow officers in a nearby substation in shorts and polo shirts were worried they weren't wearing the right gear to safely face him. They instead watched the man with an AR-15 from the window as he walked toward the main square of Old Town, according to investigative documents. So they were more concerned with their own life than they were with the lives of the community members and even their own fellow officers. But 40-year-old Johnny Hurley was shopping at an Army surplus store a block over and peered out the window, spotting the shooter. He ran out of the store and removed his concealed gun at his waist beneath his shirt. Hurley had trained for active shooter situations, not because it was part of his work, but because he wanted to help people and save lives, unlike police officers. Crouching down, he ran across a vacant, shady plaza with umbrellas and tables, gripping his gun as it pointed to the ground. Hurley knelt down behind a brick wall and carefully watched the shooter. Hurley took aim and fired 6 rounds from his handgun. 5 struck the gunman, according to his lawyers. The entire scene was captured on surveillance camera footage. And if you want to take a look at that entire video, I'll leave a link to a video that I did on it in the description. I have to admit, it's kind of exciting to see the way he handled himself, said his mother, the way he took all the training and practice that he's had and did the right thing. Hurley continued to try to do the right thing. He moved to disarm the gunman, who was still alive and laying on the ground with his AR-15 nearby. Officers saw Hurley from the safety of the substation. They stayed inside because they worried even the door itself wouldn't stop a round from an AR-15. Even though Hurley didn't look anything like the suspect description, they told investigators in an interview later that they couldn't tell if he was possibly a second shooter. They had no idea one of their own, Officer Gordon Beasley, had been killed just 2 minutes earlier. For 11 seconds, the officers watched Hurley from behind as he was trying to remove ammunition from the automatic rifle. Without announcing "police" or asking him to drop his weapon, Arvada officer Craig Brownlow opened the substation door and took aim at Hurley from behind, hitting him in his back pelvis and killing him. His lawyer said if they would have simply said police, Johnny would be here today. So Johnny took care of business and took out the trash, and then the trash, the police officers, took Johnny Hurley out. But the bottom line is Johnny Hurley didn't need the police. Stephen Williford didn't need the police. Elisha Dickin didn't need the police, and Harrison and his wife didn't need the police. And if you think you still need the police after this, you are delusional. Leave your thoughts about this in the comment section below. If you like these videos, maybe you'll like some of my others, check out my most popular playlist. If you want to support the channel, you can do it for free. Just like this video, share it with others, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification icon. If you want to support the channel further, the links are in the description. The shirt link does work right now, so if you grab a shirt, I'd really appreciate it. Like this one, different animal, same Shiite. Thanks for stopping by the Here's the Deal channel, and I will see you in the next video. That is, if the police don't get to me first.